What do you think are like three red flags that should never be ignored that might not be so obvious?
That's a great question. Bad energy. I'm sure, Doug, you've been there where you've been on a date with somebody and maybe she was a great looking girl, but man, there's something about her energy that just didn't agree with you. But the eyes say, man, look over that. Don't worry about our energy. Look over that. Bad energy, bad behavior, and not necessarily behavior towards you, but behavior towards others. When you see, here's the thing that most of the dating coaches bring up. When you see the way a person, in this case a woman, demeans or deals with wait staff at a restaurant, or the guy parking your car, you know if she's condescending, if she's rude, if she's dismissive, well, this is bad behavior that cannot be ignored, because this is just, a preview of what's going to eventually manifest inside of any relationship you might develop with this individual. Bad energy, bad behavior, and watch this, conflict of values. It's when me, okay, here I am. I'm a preacher. I'm obviously a Christian. I don't go around, waving my Bible in the air. I try to let live and let live, and I don't have to have arguments with everybody that has a different religion. But I'm a Christian, so clearly my values are biblical. My values are Christian, Judeo-Christian values. Well, if I were a single guy, there are a whole lot of women that are extremely intelligent, educated, beautiful, wonderful personalities, but we're on a date and she says, well, I don't believe in God. Oh my goodness, you got everything else I'm looking for. There would be a part that would say, well, ignore that and work on that later. You should never ignore bad energy. You should never ignore bad behavior, and you should never ignore conflicting values, especially when it's something that is, we have to define what's not a deal breaker for us. When there are conflicting values, we have to be able to say, great dinner, great lunch, wish you the best. Because it's just not, it can, more times than not, it's going to turn into a massive waste of time.
Why do you think men are more drawn to some of the red pill stuff these days?
Because a few reasons. I think a lot of guys, I'm not trying to incite anything here, but I think a lot of guys that are a part of the red pill community, a lot of them have not had much success with relationships with women. It's almost like they've not had great success. A lot of them have probably been hurt by women in the past. It's just what I'm seeing. And so there's this community where you have a minority of them who are massive achievers and who are alphas in all of their various spheres, and they come together with this rhetoric on this in this community saying, well, I can teach you how to break a woman down. I can teach you how to get the girl of your dreams, and you want to be like me. And so now you got the majority of guys who've not had much success, who are somewhat angry because the woman that they loved and chased went off with a guy that looks very similar to the guy that's promoting this on this particular platform. And so I think it's like a clarion call for all of these guys that have been broken by women to come together, learn these tricks, bring these tricks back out into the world, become a terror to the very community, women that hurt you so badly. And then I think it's, it's attractive. I think the red pill community is attractive to men because clearly it's just speaking to men. Like you said to me, we got to talk to men. Well, they're not enough healthy, balanced voices, myself included, that are actually speaking to the issues of men in a very real way. If preachers speak to the issues of men, we're usually preaching sermons. We're not talking real life. We're not giving strategies. We're not talking about real life experiences. Well, when you go to the red pill community, though I don't agree with 99.9% of their rhetoric, the thing they have going for them is that they exclusively talk to men, and it's content that is by men for men. And so, be it good or not, depending on how you see it, it's to men, so it's very attractive. It's supposedly teaching men how to manage and manipulate women, so it's attractive. Guys feel like they're going to have some level of success with women, and that success meaning manipulate and manage women. And so I believe for those reasons, a lot of guys are drawn to the red pill community.
Taking a sidestep, I feel like a lot of guys, they see like men who are super charismatic, outgoing, extroverted. They're the ones that are attracting the women. Like you've kind of talked about how you have to be confident in yourself, be willing to get rejected and walk over to a woman to get to know her and ask her out. Do you think that because some guys are just naturally not charismatic, they might be confident, but maybe they're not as extroverted, they're more on the quieter side. Do you think that's a skill that needs to be developed in order to attract women if they're not doing so already? Or do you think that there's another way they can do it?
I would have never considered myself a charismatic guy. You know what I mean? I've never been like a socialite. Never was a guy that put myself in a lot of different social settings. Always was very cautious about approaching women because I didn't. It wasn't that I was afraid of rejection, but I come from a very powerful family of pastors, and so my name, I couldn't afford to have stuff out there. So I've never been necessarily a charismatic guy, but I was always an extremely confident guy. And I think as a man develops his confidence, I think that energy begins to permeate any environment. If he works on his finances, if he works on his body, if he works on his mind, I think, going back to the guys that run these communities, these guys are visibly accomplished in these areas that I just mentioned. You listen to them, they are extremely well read. These guys are extremely physically fit. These guys clearly have their finances together. These guys flying around in jets and Bugattis and all of this other kind of thing. So I think if a guy works on himself and if he can look in the mirror and if he can say to himself, create a scale in your own mind for you, whereas we want to create scales for the women, create a scale for RC Blakes on a scale of 0 to 10. Where do you rank RC based on what you know to be, what you honestly believe to be the best version of you? When I can say, okay, I'm an 8, I'm a 9, I'm a 10 in my own mind, that energy is going to go before me in any environment that I might embrace. Now, should guys intentionally work to be more charismatic? I think we should. Now, mind you, this was 30 years ago, the last time I dated. I've been married 29 years. This is a very different culture. So, 30 years ago, the way women were kind of brought along, a guy could be a little more reserved and still get that kind of. We didn't have social media. We didn't have women that, were being influenced by what I call the toxic sisterhood. Guys didn't have to be as in your face to get attention. But if I were a young man today, I would work on myself. That would be primary. My money, my body, my mind, my spirit. And then I would work on my people skills. I would practice being able to walk in a room, look women in the eyes. We're always taught to look men in the eyes, but you got to look a woman in the eye as well. And I would practice learning to smile. I would practice being able to say, even if I'm not comfortable, hello, how are you? My name is, confidently. I would practice that. So, yes, I do believe that these skills should be developed for the right purposes, not for the management and manipulation of the emotions of women, but for the projection of the best version of you as a man. I think we all got to learn. I've since learned how to be more charismatic. There was a time, Doug, that I wouldn't smile. I was just never a guy that smiled. I mean, that would be my expression. You wouldn't get much out of me, if something was funny. Yeah. I go right back to that. It was my father who said, "You're moving into a public life. If you're going to succeed in a public life, you have to lead with a demeanor that welcomes people in." So he started teaching me how to be more charismatic, not for the purposes of women, but for the purposes of just having natural people skills that allowed people to feel more comfortable around me. But the same thing translates into how a man functions in relationships with women.